guys, it's Michelle from Cozyegg. Today is Monday, December 21st, 2020. It is the winter solstice. And this is also episode 100. So if you are new here, thank you for joining me. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. Let's just dive right in, shall we? So it has been 3 weeks maybe since I last recorded. I had been, kind of on a every couple of weeks schedule up until, October, November, and then I kind of spaced it out to once a month. I am hoping that in the new year I can get back to every couple of weeks updates, but that will just kind of depend on what's going on. But it seems like it's been a long time since I last recorded. So, as I mentioned, today is the winter solstice, and also we have the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn that is happening tonight. And so right after dinner, Eric and I walked, our house backs up to a park. So we walked out there to take a look at it, and we were able to see it. We have clear skies tonight, so that was really cool to see the two right together, the two planets right together. Unfortunately, we don't have a telescope or even binoculars, so Eric brought one of his cameras out with one of his huge lenses on it, so we could look at it a little bit closer. But it was just cool to stand out there and see, the two planets, super bright, as well as the moon is out there. I think it's the first quarter moon today as well. So yep, first quarter moon. So, and of course Christmas is later this week, so yeah, I am on vacation for 2 weeks from work starting today. I did have to call in to a call this morning, so today felt not really like a vacation day, but hopefully tomorrow I will be totally free. So that will be good. For Christmas, it will just be, of course, the two of us. And as it was for Thanksgiving, which is fine, we will have a quiet holiday. Eric has planned out what we're going to have for Christmas Eve dinner, as well as what we're going to have for Christmas Day. And I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to not working, doing some little things around the house. And Eric actually has, he bought a new computer for me. I have been having some issues with mine being full. I have zero space left. And of course, with recording videos and all of that, it was time. So that's one of the things that's on our list for this week, is to get me switched over to the new computer. He's got it all prepped and ready to go. So I'm looking forward to that, and not having those little error messages pop up at me saying, yeah, you're out of space. Don't even try to save this. So yeah, so we didn't have, normally we have I think I talked about this last time, normally we have a party that we do at the beginning of December, where we do cocktails and desserts. And so normally, getting the house ready and getting everything baked and made and, ready for guests is, a pretty frantic affair. But since we didn't have that this year, I've been a little bit slow to get the house decorated. But I wanted to, put things up even if no one is going to see it but the two of us. I know that it makes Eric happy, so and it makes me happy as well. So I did finally, we did finally get the house decorated. All the trees are up, all the lights are on them, ornaments are on them, etc. He even put his trains out around two of the trees, which he has not put his trains out since we got these two hoodlums. So we're going to give it a go this year and see what happens, but the trains are out, and so far so good. We just have to watch for, tails laying across the tracks, things like that, but it's fine. So yeah, so we finally got everything decorated, and I'm doing some baking of some treats, but I'm sort of spreading them out instead of baking them all at one time, where I spend like 2 days in the kitchen all day. I'm just sort of spreading them out. So yesterday I made a fruitcake. I made it a few years ago for our party, and it turned out really good. So Eric asked me to make it again, and basically it has, I put golden raisins and dried cranberries and dates and walnuts in it, and it's really, really good. And of course, bourbon. So yeah, so that's about it. I've been reading a lot, which I will talk a little bit about books at the end, and I have been stitching some, not a ton, but some. So let's just delve right into that. I have no finishes to share, but I will show you what I have been working on since we last talked. I showed you last time that I had started Hannah Tingey from the Scarlet House, and I say Tingey. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what I say. So this is Hannah Tingey 1823. I had used the hashtag of 1832. Thankfully, a very sweet person on Instagram corrected me, and I am now under the correct hashtag. I just transposed the numbers. So this is by the Scarlet House. This came out like 2011, and I have had this since then and just never got around to stitching it, so it seemed like now was the time. So Christy from Crosshatch Quilts is hosting the SAL for this. I started on Thanksgiving Day. I think the original plan was the weekend after Thanksgiving, but I just started on Thanksgiving Day, and I was missing some silks, so I was having to kind of work around what I was missing, and unfortunately one of the silks that I was missing was this green for the border. So that kind of put a crimp in my plans, but I have since received the ones that I was missing, and so I did work on her a little bit more, so I'll show you what I've done. And I am stitching this with the called for NPI on 40 count buttercream from Lakeside. It calls for buttercream. I think the model is stitched on 45 count, and I'm doing 40 count. So that's where I'm at. So I did get a little start on the border, and I have been working on that verse. It is over 1, and I am doing full cross with the NPI on there and really not having any issues. So when I came in here and started, filling in this vine here, I realized that this was in the wrong place, so I had to rip that out and move it. But now it's in the right place again, or for the first time. So I do love the colors. It sort of has this is one of those samplers that has some autumnal colors in it, so it kind of has that fall feel, which is why we started it at Thanksgiving. But then it also has a lot of those greens and reds, and then with these little triangle trees, which are my favorite, and the deer, it also has kind of a Christmas feel to it. So it's kind of the perfect time of year to work on this, and I'm hoping to get back to her before the end of the year. We'll see how that goes, but really enjoying it. Really enjoying stitching with the silks and stitching on the lakeside. It's kind of the good stuff, which I love. So I worked on Hannah a little bit. I've got sort of piles here, so, and one of the piles is my cat, who is right here. Right here. So I can't pile there, so I'm having to sort of pile this way. After I set down Hannah Tingy, I decided to pick up His Eyes on the Sparrow again and work more on that. And so here is where I'm at with this, and right here is the end of a page. So this is basically one page. So I did manage to get that page finished, which felt really good. I love this bird. Love him. He's outlined with, I don't know, is it bayberry or meadow mist? One of those. And then the inside is Lexington green. And then he's got some little spots on his wing. Really pretty. And so I finished that page, and then I started on the next page. And so this page right here is the bottom right-hand corner. And it's like a half page. So right here, there will be a flower here in the border, and that's the last one that's right at the corner. So I don't really have that much left, you know, maybe here to go. And of course the page ends, you know, here. I think the bird's head is, you know, on that next page. That bird is actually over like 3 pages. So like his body is on this page, this tip of his tail is on this page, and then his head is on this page. So that was pain. But I'm working on this big flower here, and then there's some sort of weird animal, llama, something, I don't know, down there at the bottom. But then I'm at the bottom. So so I've gone all the way across the top, and right here is where the verse goes. And so this is kind of the bottom 2/3. So I've got this page done, but I have not worked my way across. And then I'm decided to just go ahead and do this half page here, and then I'll kind of work across. So I've been enjoying it. My progress has been slow because I've been reading more than stitching, and so that's been kind of keeping my attention, but I really wanted to have this finished this year. I had it on my list of things that I was going to finish in 2020, and it just didn't happen. And I know that with, you know, what's left of the year, there's just no way it's going to happen. I am not a speedy stitcher, and I don't want to burn myself out on it again. So, because I got burnt out right around July and then put it down and didn't touch it again until, you know, December basically. And I don't want that to happen. So I just, you know, I've been just sort of focusing on one motif at a time and just telling myself, you know, as long as you're enjoying it, just keep working on it. And that's what I've been doing. So that's what I'm doing. So this will probably be on my list of things that I want to get finished in 2021 because it is time. So, and Hannah will probably be on that list as well because I think I would like to get her finished too. So those were the two things that I have been working on pretty much for all of December. And I really wanted to get that page finish on Sparrow before I did anything else. I would like to get that first page finished on Hannah, you know, just for some closure and to be kind of at a good spot. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That's okay. I'm not married to that. So, but yesterday, you know, now that I have all the decorating done, I made my fruitcake. We've been, you know, planning our menu for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I just kind of got in that mood. Maybe it was the Christmas music we were listening to or whatever, but I just kind of got in the mood and decided, I think I want to get out some Christmas stitching. So I basically have 2 Christmas project bags. And so I dug in my closet and I got those 2 project bags out and was just kind of like, you know, I brought them both to my stitching spot last night and I was like, let's see what's in here and let's see if anything looks good. So I will show you what's in my 2 bags and then I will show you what I decided to work on last night. So here's my first bag. This is a Kate Spain fabric. She does some great Christmas fabrics, and I have a quilt that I made out of her Christmas fabrics out of several different lines that I just absolutely love. And this is actually the fabric that I used for my binding on that quilt. So, and you may notice that I have a different quilt up because it's Christmas. So I took down the kimonos, and this is actually our wedding quilt. I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, but I do have it folded in because it's huge. But you can see some of these squares have writing on them. So this is what we did instead of a guest book at our wedding. We had people sign these quilt blocks. And for the people that couldn't come to the wedding, I mailed them off a square of fabric and a pen and asked them to, please write something. And we got those back. And then once I had everything back, then I made it into this quilt. So, but it's red and white, so it's, Christmassy. And I actually usually just leave this up through Valentine's Day. So that's our wedding quilt. And up right here in the center, I have an embroidered block that says, Eric and Michelle, and it has our wedding date on it. So, and like the squares that are right near the center are like our immediate family, and then farther out are, friends. Yeah. So anyway, side note. But sometimes I put my Christmas quilt up here instead of our wedding quilt, which is made out of this Kate Spain fabric. And so I made this project bag a few years ago. I made one for me and one for some friends. The inside has this kind of snowball fabric, this mint green background snowball fabric. And so let's see what's in here, shall we? It is a surprise for both of us. And as you well know by now, I tend to put like 12 projects in a project bag. So, let's see. Oh, and a friend of mine made this these scissor holders, and I have my Tudor Rose scissor fob that I made. But she made these little scissor holders for me. And I have some red and white scissors in there. And it just snaps shut. I forget about those scissors because they live in here. They just live in here now. Okay, so the main thing that is in here, I'm going to take this out of the plastic so you can see it because the picture's not great. This is Jenny Bean's Christmas Sampler by Shakespeare's Peddler. And I just love this. So I stitched Jenny Bean's Halloween sampler, you know, as soon as it came out. And then when I finished that one, I loved it so much that I bought this one as well. And I started this a few years ago. I'm pretty sure I started it like around Thanksgiving one year. Just love it. And it calls for Gentle Arts threads and 40 count vintage navy bean by Lakeside, which is what I'm stitching it on and what I'm stitching it with. And here's where I'm at. So of course I did all the fun stuff first, right? This is one of those pieces that I started it because there were things going on and I needed something happy. So I started this. Unfortunately, every time I work on this, it reminds me of that stuff. So I have a really hard time working on this project, and that is why it has just sort of languished in my whips. I did get it out last year, I think in July, when Diana from It Is Kismet Stitches did her birthday sale, her Christmas in July birthday sale. I got it out in July because I thought maybe if I work on it removed from the holidays, I can kind of, you know, keep it, maybe take some of the negativity off of it. I'm not sure that it worked. So I have this. I'd really love to finish this. I absolutely love it. I just have, especially that little bird on the house. I just have to get past all of the, you know, the stuff. So. But this is one of those pieces that, you know, I bought the chart and then I, you know, ordered the fabric and threads and basically just said, send me all the stuff. Just send me all the stuff. Okay, so then the next thing I have in here are these out of print, sorry, Birds of a Feather Santas. And there are 4 of them. There is the elusive gold Santa, black Santa, red Santa, and green Santa. And I have stitched green Santa. And they call for weeks threads. And then they also call for metallics. I'm not doing the metallics. So I just picked something that I thought worked instead of the gold or the silver. So I have green Santa done. I think I finished him last year, maybe during something. Maybe I worked on him in July too. I don't remember, but finished him up. I love him. I love that he's holding a pretzel. I love that he has peppermint sticks in his pocket. He's super fun. And so I have a piece of Weeks Cocoa 40 count that I can do all 4 of them on. I just need to do the other 3. But I sure love him. He makes me super happy. So, yeah. So he's in there. Well, they are in there. And then my other Christmas bag. This is also a Kate Spade fabric. So cute. Sylvia made me this bag. And on the inside, more Kate Spade fabric. I love that little heart button. So what's in this bag? This bag has a couple of things. Blackbird Designs, Peace on Earth. This is Loose Feathers 28, which is from 2007. And this was back in the Send Me All the Stuff subscription stage. So I started this and I'm stitching it, so it calls for 3 Gentle Arts and 1 Weeks, and it calls for 30 count sheep straw by R&R, so that's what I'm using, because that's what you get when you say send me all the stuff. And I don't know when I started this, but it was a long time ago, and this has just been a whip for forever. And of course it's 30 count R&R, so you can see through it. So let me see if I can. Okay, so that's what I have done. And I think that's upside down. So that's what I have done. So the Peace on Earth, which is in the center, and then I'm working on those leaves and buds or berries out around it. There's a lot of stitching in this. A lot more than you think there is. So, but I do love it. I love the colors. I will eventually finish this. I'm just apparently not in any hurry. All right, and then the third thing that is in here, and I don't think I have this is a digital pattern, so I don't think I have a photo of it printed. I have a black and white photo. This is Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, the Christmas Celebration Sampler. And it's got the 9 blocks, and it says Christmas. And then in each block it has, you know, a thing associated with that letter. So carolers and hot cocoa and Rudolph or reindeer, ice skating, snowmen, etc. And it's got this really cute border. So this is what I decided to work on last night. Because when I got it out, I was like, yeah, I think I want to work on that. And so I put it in a Q-snap. And here's where I'm at. So I'm using this, this polka dot fabric, the Swiss dot fabric that I just love. I saw somebody else choose this when this was a mystery And so I immediately went out and ordered it. And just DMC, except for there is 1 week's thread, which is for these white bits. And the thread is white, but then it also has little bits of pink and a light blue in it, so it kind of looks like snow. What's it called? It's called Snowflake. I'll show you this thread because it's really pretty. I don't know if you can even see that, probably not. It just looks white, but it has little bits of pink and blue in it. Really pretty. And I remember like the year that I bought this was the same year that I bought a book of Christmas stories. Oh, I should have gotten that out. Oh well. I will insert a photo here. So it's a book of Christmas short stories. And one of the authors is Rainbow Rowell, who wrote Fangirl and a number of other books that are really super good if you want to read some good books. But that book, one of the people that had recommended it was Amanda of Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, who sadly is no longer on Instagram, because her Instagram used to be like my absolute favorite. Every photo she posted, I was just like, it's so fantastic, because she quilts and knits and reads a ton and just super inspiring. And so you know, I got this pattern, I bought that book, and so I just have like this kind of vivid memory of that year, you know, that Christmas where I read that book and I started this. And so unlike my Jenny Bean, this one has like good connotations with it, which is probably why I decided to pick it up and work on it. So anyway, so I'm working on this block, and what I discovered last night is that this gray that is around each of the blocks, I had apparently changed, because what was in my bag was not this gray. But of course I didn't write down what it was, so I spent a bit of time today trying to work out what it is. And I think I went just like one shade darker than what was called for because of the fabric, I think. So, so I sorted that out, and I had stolen several of the threads. They had been pilfered into other projects, so I had to go and get them all back today so that I could work on this, which is why this poor girl has no hair. Yeah, and why I don't have the gray that goes right here or on the sides, because I didn't know what gray it was. Now I do, or I think I do. And you can see I started the border up here, but because of the dots and because of this white, it's easier to see on camera than it is in person. So I think I'm actually going to rip this out, and I may do the border in one of these greens or the red. I'm leaning towards doing it in the green, so that it'll show up better. But I worked on this last night. I think this is a 32 count, so I'm using 2 strands of DMC. But it was just a nice little relaxing stitch last night. I was just in the mood to stitch Christmas stuff, so that's what I did. And I figure, you know, I'm gonna stitch on this until I want to stitch on something else. We'll see. I don't have any, I'm kind of at that place where I don't have any plans for, I'm going to try to finish this, or I want to stitch on it this long and then work on this other thing. I'm just kind of, I want to work on this as long as I'm enjoying it, and then I'll work on something else. So while I say that I would like to get back to Hannah and, you know, kind of finish out that page, that may or may not happen this year. It may happen next year, whatever. So, but I'm just gonna stitch on that as long as I'm interested in it. I may switch to another, you know, Christmas piece, who knows? But I'm just not gonna worry about it. So, so that's what I've been working on. And you know, usually by this time of the year, I have like massive plans already in place for the next year. And I will be honest with you, I do not. I know what I'm going to start on January 1st, which I will show you here in a minute. I know that next year is a milestone birthday for me. So I would like to stitch something, you know, special for my birthday. But other than that, I don't really have any plans. That's not to say that between now and the beginning of the year I won't come up with a million plans, but as of right now, I don't really have any hard and fast plans. You know, I have several samplers I'd like to get back to and work on. I definitely would like to finish Sparrow next year. I would like to work on Hannah some more. I want to get Ann Ufendel back out and work on her some more. I just really don't have any hard and fast plans. And I feel totally okay with that, to be honest with you. I'm just kind of in that place of, I'm just going to enjoy my stitching. And I want to continue to whittle down the number of whips that I have. I don't really have a whole lot of interest in starting a bunch of new stuff. So, you know, but I have plenty to keep me busy, for sure. All right, so January 1st start, let's talk about that. So, crinkle, crinkle. Last time, I showed you the sampler that I charted for the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild. And I presented that at our December meeting, and she was very well received, and I have been sending out charts right and left to people. So I'm very excited about that and thrilled that she was so well received. And so my plan is that I am going to start stitching the reproduction on January 1st. And so I invited the rest of my guild members to join me and either start on the adaptation or on the repro, whichever they want to stitch. Because I thought that would be kind of fun to stitch it together. And if I'm going to release Sarah to wide release, to public release in next December, I would kind of like to have the reproduction stitched as a model. So that's my plan. So here is the chart, and this is a picture of the antique. And on the chart for the adaptation, I just have kind of a, the generated digital version of what that will look like. So I may be also stitching the adaptation next year too, which may be why I'm kind of not feeling like I need to make a lot of plans, because I need to get this done. So this is Sarah Ann Banton, 1833. And like I mentioned, she is an exclusive to the members of my guild, the 2020 members of my guild, the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild, as part of our 20th anniversary celebration. And my friend Shelley owns Sarah and allowed me to chart her. And Shelley actually came over tonight, and we did a little front porch pickup, and she took Sarah back home with her. So I'm a little sad to see her go, but I'm sure that Shelley will be happy to have her hanging back on her wall again. So so I'm going to start this on January 1st, and so I have been gathering my supplies. I chose to stitch her on 40 count putty by Weeks Dye Works, which has kind of a greenish cast to it. It kind of depends on the light that you get it in. Sometimes it looks more neutral with a greenish cast. Sometimes it looks very green. Like right now I'm looking at it and it looks very green in this light. But I have all of the DMCs, and that is what I was planning on stitching her in. And there's about 15 of them. And I just think it's such a pretty palette. And these were matched to the front of the sampler. So 40 count Weeks putty. I think they look pretty on here. I may have to make some adjustments with these two. I think this is 3023 and this is 3053. And this is a gray, this is kind of a greenish gray, and I may lose those against my fabric, but I will make adjustments if I need to. So that was my plan, was that I was going to stitch her in the DMC. When Shelley came over tonight to pick up Sarah, she left me a card, which after we had dinner and then went out to look at the conjunction and came back, I opened the card, and in it she gave me all of the Averiswa silks to stitch Sarah with. So I charted her in DMC, and then Shelley actually did the silk conversions, and like I cried when I opened this. It's just really, really sweet. But she said that she wanted me to have the silks to stitch Sarah with. So thank you, Shelley, if you're watching. So I will be stitching her in the silks, but I think you can agree that both the silks and the DMC are beautiful. She will be beautiful either way. So, and yeah, so I'm going to be stitching her in silks, which I'm excited about. So, so that is my January 1st start, is Sarah Ann Banton. I'm stitching the reproduction, and she's a big girl, so she does fit on a fat quarter, but there's a good amount of stitching in there. So she is 275 by 439, and the adaptation is the same width, it's just a little bit shorter. So that is my plan for January 1st, is to start Sarah, and she will probably be my focus for a good chunk of 2021. And look at this pretty card. Isn't that beautiful? It's Chagall. Just love it. Okay, so those are my plans for the new year and for the rest of this year. Basically, I'm just winging it. So, all right, let's talk about books. So I have read several books. It's funny because I think I've read 9 books this year, which is a super low number for me, but you know, it is what it is. But 7 of those books I have read in the last 6 weeks. So, what can I say? As I was going through, you know, reading and thinking about what I was going to read next, one of the things that kept coming back to me is a series by Sarah J. Maas that I read several years ago, or started several years ago. There's 4 books currently. There is a new one that is coming out. And I got to thinking about, like, these are some of my favorite books ever. And so I decided I would really like to have my own copies of them, because I just checked them out of the library. But I really wanted to have my own copies of them. So I went looking for the hardbacks and discovered that with the new book that is coming out, they are changing the covers, which is like sacrilege to me. So I wanted them in hardback, and I wanted them in the original covers, and thus began my search because they're not easy to find at all in hardback with the original covers. The first book, I think, is from 2015? 2015, so 5 years old. And so the book is Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the first book in the series, and these are so good. These are literally some of my favorite books ever, which is why I'm feeling the need to reread them. So I managed to find a copy of this, and bought it and got it shipped to me, and started reading it a couple of days ago. So I have already been on the hunt for book 2. I told myself I would not worry about it until I finished reading book 1, but then I got a little concerned that I wasn't going to be able to find book 2 because book 1 was pretty hard to find. And it took some doing. I had, in fact, the other day, I was like, I found it. I found a used copy. And in the 2 minutes that it took me to check out, it was no longer available. And I was like, oh. But one popped up today. So book 2 is on its way to me, which I'm super excited about. So I am currently reading this. The first book is essentially a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Like, that's sort of essentially what it is, which when I heard that, that's what made me want to read it, because Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite fairy tales. So I was like, yeah, I want to read that. It's so much more than that, but that gives you kind of the gist of it. So highly recommend, highly recommend, highly recommend. She has another series called the Throne of Glass series, which I have not read, but I hear is also excellent. And then she has a new series that she has just started called Crescent City, I believe, which I hear is also very good. So after I finish these, I may go and check out her other books. But eventually, all 4 of these original covers will be in my hands. So have one is on the way. I will worry about the other 2 another day. The other books that I wanted to talk to you about, I don't know that I've ever talked about them before because it's been so long since I read them, but we have been watching the TV series, which is excellent. But that's what made me think of it. So if you have not read these are excellent as well. Philip Pullman, The Golden Compass. The series is called His Dark Materials, and that is what the TV series is called. There was a movie that was done that Nicole Kidman was in called The Golden Compass. It was okay. I wouldn't go out of your way to see it. It's fine, but the TV series is so good, and it is very close to the books. So I highly recommend the TV series. Of course, I always recommend reading it first. But the first book is called The Golden Compass, and these are fantasy books. The second book is called The Subtle Knife, and so they are on season 2 in the series, which picks up where this book starts. And then the third book is The Amber Spyglass. And they are excellent, excellent. And what's interesting, is that part of what I so love about this book is that there is a lot of it that has to do with exploration in the north, the Aurora Borealis, blah, 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 all of that. And that is something that is super interesting to me. And partially, I think it's because this book was so impactful on me when I first read it. But you may remember back at the beginning of the year when I was reading Frankenstein, where I talked about, part of what I loved about the beginning of Frankenstein and kind of how, it starts out is all about exploration and going to the north, and that whole idea of, going out there into nature, exploring, that sort of idea of the sublime, and that awe-inspiring nature, which, that kind of goes deep into, art history, whatever. And I talked a little bit at the time about how there were all of these sort of coincidental things that, kept cropping up for me as I was reading Frankenstein, and as it was, talking about the exploration and this and that. And then I, saw this mention of the Pitt Rivers Museum and the Explorers Club. And, I think I talked a little bit about that, in my earlier videos this year. So I'm watching The Golden Compass, the show, or His Dark Materials. And they go into Oxford and they go into the Pitt Rivers Museum. Like, my jaw dropped because I was like, this is like full circle. So it just, crazy. But anyway, highly recommend these books, highly recommend the TV series, also highly recommend this series. So that's all I want to say about that. But it's just funny how these things just all sort of line up and come full circle. And it's like, yes, 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 yes. And, that there is that part of me that feels like these are little signposts to me, like you're heading in the right direction. And that's, anyway, never mind. Okay, so I've been stitching a little bit, been reading a lot. I intend to do more of the same. So I'm going to start Sarah on January 1st. We're going to have a quiet holiday here, and enjoy ourselves, enjoy the twinkle lights, enjoy cozy, curling up with quilts and what have you. Of course, I have on short sleeves today because it was 70 degrees here in Texas. Whatever. Okay, so happy winter solstice. I will probably not talk to you again until after the new year. Thank you for sticking with me for 100 episodes, 5 years. It'll be 6 years in January. And looking forward to what 2021 has in store. So happy stitching and happy reading. Let me know if you check any of these books or shows out. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So thanks, guys. Happy New Year.